Hello, everybody. Welcome to Mortal Content. I'm your host, Doug Ziegler, and I'm super excited tonight because I get to have the guys from Doof Media come on to talk, Matt and Scott, to talk about Flanagan's Wake. I'm going to say new endeavor, but it's been going on for years. I don't think you could really classify that as new. But, basically this is an exploration of all of Mike Flanagan's work. So I've been enjoying it and following it, faithfully for a year already. So really enjoying this. So, hey, all right, let's start with our normal question, which is, what are you guys drinking, if anything?
Matt, do you want to go first? Oh, okay. I'm drinking some tea because we are actually recording an episode after this tonight. So I am trying to save my moneymaker for as much as possible.
Yeah, conserving. And I'm having a unflavored Topo Chico mineral water, carbonated, delicious, refreshing.
The fanciest water for Matt over here.
Yeah, well, it's better than like liquid death water, I think, or whatever that stuff is. But
what is that? I don't know what it is. What is it?
I think it's just water.
I think it is too. I think it's just branded to make it sound cool.
I could see a certain person being like, yeah, that's what I'm drinking.
Yeah, I don't think you even have to specify who that certain kind of person might be.
Yeah.
But anyway, really like the branded mug too, Scott, the Flanagan's Wake mug. So
yeah, always be branding is our motto. So yeah.
Oh, that's your motto. All right.
Not really, no.
All right. So since you guys are doing a midnight mass through, I figured I'd go with a little bit of a religious connection here with doing Evil Twin Brewing's Even More Jesus beer. So your first episode, talking about the first episode of Midnight Mass, I must have cracked up like 10 times talking about your religious takes. Matt saying his first sin after getting out of his first confessional was like 14 seconds. It's like that floored me. Could you take your first confessional? It was like 7. Oh my God. Yeah. Man.
Well, you get a very broad sense of what constitutes a sin when you're raised in that environment. So
that's true. Yeah. The answer is everything. Everything.
Yeah. So
right.
You always be merchandising, apparently. So
yeah. ABM.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So while I pour my beer, why don't you guys give us a little lowdown on Flanagan's Wake and how you guys came about this idea? What was the impetus? I know you guys have lots of things you go and explore. So what kind of drove you down the path to explore Mike Flanagan's work?
I think we did our show Kingslingers for 5 years, Matt. Was that a 5-year adventure? I think so. So we did that show for 5 years. We started, talking Stephen King in the Dark Tower. Then rolled into the books connected to the tower, then just wanted to talk about Stephen King more. So just did another season talking more about Stephen King. And then we really felt that show is just kind of coming to a natural end. I am definitely the type of person that thinks that things should end, that we shouldn't do things forever. And sometimes things should come to an end. And so it felt like it was a good time for that show to come to an end. And we started talking about what we could do next. And it really felt like a very natural transition to move from Stephen King to Mike Flanagan. We both love talking about books, of course, but we also really love talking about movies, television, just any kind of storytelling. And it felt just like a natural progression to go from King to Flanagan, especially since the way we do things, we would also still get to read some Stephen King while we were doing Mike Flanagan. So it really felt like just obvious. And the only thing that was stopping us was coming up with a name. And that's when Matt swooped in with our wonderful name that I love so much. So yeah, we've been doing this, as you said, for about a year now. I think we are, amount of content wise, about halfway through the show. We've got basically the rest of this year we're going to spend on Flanagan, and then really we're just waiting for him to make more stuff so we can cover more stuff.
Yeah, I do think it's funny seeing like you telling Matt not to watch certain things so that you can do it in real time. Although Midnight Mass, that isn't the case, right, Matt? You watched this before, yeah?
Yeah, this that was long before we really even had a thought that we were going to cover Flanagan in particular. So I just heard it recommended so many places, went ahead and watched it, loved it. It contributed, I think, partly to me being just so ready to go when Scott suggested that we do Flanagan. Yeah, I mean, I don't. I think we'll probably talk about this later in this conversation, but I don't typically go out of my way to consume horror stuff, which is why it's kind of funny that we've been running a very horror-focused series of podcasts recently. But I gotta tell you, it's growing on me, actually.
It's all part of the plan.
Good. Yeah, your evil plans.
Yeah.
I also I remember you guys talked about how you came up with this idea, and then Mike Flanagan himself, actually, you guys talked to him, which is just wow.
So it's actually a really weird story. It's fun, but so like we said, we have merchandise. Yes. And like I think it was about like a year ago today, actually, we got, because every time someone orders something, we get an email that says they ordered something. And about a year ago today, we had just launched the show, and we got an email that said, Mike Flanagan has purchased a mug. And we were like, what? Pardon? And we honestly, I think at the time we kind of wrote it off as like one of our listeners like having a laugh at us, that they just like set their name in the checkout as Mike Flanagan or whatever, and just thought it'd be funny. And then, yeah, I think it was right after we released our first episode, like someone messaged me with like, I'm assuming you've seen the tweet, or it wasn't a tweet, it was a blue sky, whatever those are called, a bluey.
I told you what they're called. You just refused to say it, Scott.
I don't remember.
Is it a skeet?
It's a skeet.
Oh yeah, no, I don't. No, I don't like that. I don't like that. Where he just like, I don't know how he found the show, but my assumption is like, these professional artists have publicists and managers and stuff that probably like spend some time like just getting notifications on who's talking about the people they represent. And I'm guessing that someone on his team found it, sent it to him, and he listened and enjoyed it. And it's weird because I don't like talking about it, because it feels like even talking about it right now feels like we're like gloating in a way, like it just feels weird. Like, and I'm trying not to do that, but it's very surreal. He's an incredible person. We have like exchanged emails a few times. He's so nice. He's been so thoughtful with his time with us. Just like he loves, like you could tell he's like really a nerd for the technical side of stuff, because almost always when he emails us about something, it's because he just wants to let us know about, hey, you talked about this, here's how this worked, or here's how we did this, or you had a question about this, and here's that. And it's just the coolest thing in the world. Like I still can't get over it that it is real. But no, it's so cool.
Yeah, I listen, if you don't talk about it, who else is gonna? You might as well, right? Like on the other show, we had an author that I absolutely loved named Chuck Wendig come on our show, on our beer show that we did, and I love Wendig, and that dude is awesome to talk to. He's just hilarious. But like I was like floating on a cloud talking to him. It's just kind of one of those weird things. I totally get where you're like, you feel like I don't want to toot my own horn there a little bit, but like, you should. That's Mike Flanagan. That's fucking awesome.
I've used this metaphor before, but it's like in the movie Tommy Boy, when he's talking about his sale and he's using a role as a representative, like, this is my potential sale and it's very perfect and wonderful. And then I just get so nervous that I destroy it and screw it up. And I'm perpetually afraid of doing that. We are so appreciative of him and the time he's taken. Just like taking time out of his day to listen to us bullshit about his show for 2 hours a week is remarkable.
Yeah. And you guys do go you go long form on it. That's the thing is I appreciate, because it gets you, both of you, to go on your like, I know Scott, you like really delve into the camera work and things like that. And what I appreciate is Matt may not see that stuff, but what Matt does is he brings this sort of, oh, well, here's this point I saw in these episodes that, this is where you guys play so well off each other, is you have the ability, like Matt will see things you don't, and Scott will be like, I'm very focused on the technical stuff. One thing I want to ask, Matt, do you watch the episodes or movies as much as Scott does? Because I think Scott watches like the same episode 5 times.
I don't watch them as much as Scott does. No, that is safe to say. I don't have a good excuse here. I think Scott is the good one. He's the studious one. He's doing his homework. but I feel like I have a good enough memory that I get what I need to get from watching it. The one or two times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say that me doing that is probably entirely unnecessary, but I feel the pressure of like being the guide, I guess, through it. I feel that I have to be more knowledgeable almost because of that. And so I feel like the way I calm my nervousness on that is watching it again and again and again and again until I've basically memorized the entire episode.
Is that a because you're afraid you're going to miss something thing?
Yeah, I mean, it's just like when I get nervous about things, I over prepare. That's like just been the way I've always done it. And so, and like, I mean, over preparing in this instance is getting to watch a show I love again and again and again. So it's like the easiest thing in the world. Like I have so much fun rewatching the show. There's never been a time where I'm like, kind of done with this. So yeah, I mean, that's just kind of how I work out my anxiety about doing a good job, especially because as much as I try to ignore it, there's always a little guy in the back of my head that says, Mike is listening to this guy.
There is that. So I'm going to ask each of you, and I'll start with Matt. Are you a person that, like, do you comfort watch stuff? Like, I feel like people that watch things over and over again do a lot of it in a, like, sort of like I have, it's more like a neurodivergent kind of thing where they're like, I rewatch this or I put this on the background and it's a comfort to me because I know everything that's going to happen. Do you do that, Matt, or is that not your jam?
Like short answer, yes, but not like a lot. I mean, I was telling Scott the other day that I watched Edge of Tomorrow like again, and it was like
that movie.
There were like 3 other things that I should have been watching for our various podcasts that I was like, I just need to watch Edge of Tomorrow again right now because I need to like chill and like not that's a huge comfort movie for me. And definitely I'll like rewatch old action movies from my childhood when I need to, Aliens or Terminator 2 or whatever, when I need to feel a certain kind of, warm nostalgia. I'm also, not so much these days, but I used to be a great one for rereading. Like I would like my favorite books, I would read them, 5 times easily, sometimes more than that. So not the same thing as rewatching, obviously, but there is a lot of comfort in a story that and just kind of immersing yourself in it again and doing away with the tension of like what's going to happen next because you already know. And I don't think I do that very often, but it's a behavior that I do. Sure.
Scott?
I think it's kind of a lost art nowadays because there's so much content that like, I mean, this is a thing that we did when we were kids all the time, right? There was just like, there was so much less stuff so what you did was you rewatched stuff over and over and over again. And I think we've kind of lost a little bit. And I feel that I feel this not just because we make content about movies and shows, but just I feel a almost constant pressure to watch as much of the new stuff that's happening as possible. So my intake of rewatches and rereads and all that has really suffered the last few years. I will have like I just said I over prepare to deal with my anxieties. One of the other ways I dealt with my anxieties in college was I just like watched TV to fall asleep because I couldn't turn my brain off. So I just focused it on TV. And that is a habit I got in and I'm still in. So a lot of my comfort rewatching is me throwing on an episode of a TV show or a movie or something like that as I go to sleep. So I think I just mentioned to Matt that I watched the pilot of Lost the other day. And that was literally just, I was laying down. I couldn't sleep. I was like, okay, let's turn on the show that we're definitely going to do a podcast on one day.
So you're watching something to go to sleep that is like tense and like something you really need to pay attention to. So okay.
Yeah, but I mean that's the thing about rewatch is you don't really, right? I mean, like yes it is tense, and yes you can like get into the tension of the show, but if this is the 20th time you've seen it, you basically know everything that's going to happen, and you're totally fine falling asleep in the middle of a scene, and then maybe the next night before you go to bed picking it up the last spot you remember and go from there.
Yeah. And you notice different stuff, right? Like I remember there was this was years ago. We did this series where we would all take turns writing essays about like Christmas movies. We called it like the 12 Days of Doofmas or something. Those essays are probably somewhere.
That was 10 years ago, Matt.
Yeah, that was just the other day.
Just the other day.
Yeah. And like the point being, I'm just thinking of this because we all had pretty, off the wall takes, but it was like, well, that's what happens when you watch, the Santa Claus or the Nightmare Before Christmas like twice a year for 20 years. Like you just get really esoteric takes and you notice weird things and you get weird interpretations. And I think that's actually part of the reason why you should watch things over and over is you just notice things in a totally different way than the first time you saw it.
Yeah, there's first of all, excellent rewatch movie. Edge of Tomorrow is one of my favorite sci-fi movies it's weird. It gets not enough love. I feel like it's such a good freaking movie. And I think it's because Tom Cruise is in it. I think that's why it doesn't get the love it deserves. But
I think you're right.
I think it's the name. I think that's a bad name. It's a bad name. They should have gone with what he wanted to call the movie in the first place.
What was that?
Live, Die, Repeat was the title that Doug Liman wanted to go with, and they made him change it to the most like generic, boring title ever.
I think you know what? I didn't realize. I know that's the tagline.
Mm-hmm.
And now you say that, I didn't realize that was the case. That much better title.
That was his like the compromise was they were like, okay, we'll use that heavily in the marketing. And in fact, like I have the movie somewhere on my shelf behind me. But when they came time to print the physical copies, it literally like in tiny text, it says Edge of Tomorrow. And then big on the case is Live, Die, Repeat. And that was the compromise. It's like, we're going to call it that, but we will let you in a lot of the marketing really push the title that you wanted.
Yeah. We could talk like another 20 minutes on physical media versus streaming, which you guys have talked ad nauseum about, but hey, the way they keep taking things away, I think Scott's in the right on that physical media thing. But anyway, let's push off to that a little bit. So one of the other things that I wanted to ask here, so we got the thought process. What has been each of your favorite movie or show so far in the Flanagan verse? Maybe that's bad. But what's your favorite thing you've and it could be the books too that you've read and all that, because you have Dr. Sleep and Haunting of Hill House and the Henry James short stories. So what's been your favorite piece of content out of the Mike Flanagan universe so far?
Matt, you want to go first?
Sure. I think the answer to that is Midnight Mass. I feel like Midnight Mass is. This is weird because we just were talking about Flanagan potentially listening to us, and it's weird to say, but it's like I think it's just a work of genius. Like I think it's actually just incredible, and it works on so many layers, and it's like perfect, basically. And I knew that I thought that before, but now revisiting it and rewatching it as we're covering it, I'm just like, wow, it's even better than I remembered. Everything else is great. Everything else we've covered is great and, really fun and engaging and just all the things you want out of film and TV and so on. But I think Midnight Mass is like all time, and then in terms of the reading, I really like Gerald's Game. And some of those Henry James short stories were surprisingly compelling, actually, and in that way where like a short story will stick with you and you kind of find yourself thinking about it randomly. I keep thinking it's funny, I didn't think this one would stick with me at the time, but the one that I have thought about more recently is probably The Beast in the Jungle. Maybe that's because that was the name of the last episode of
Bly Manor,
Bly Manor, but maybe not. Anyway, that was a good one.
Yeah. How about you, Scott?
Yeah. In order to not just answer the exact same thing Matt answered, I think one of the most surprising things for me, and I kind of the gimmick of our show is that everything that we're talking about I had seen already. I think the only exception to that was Absentia was the only one that I watched for the first time. Our first episode.
Maybe we don't want to talk about that, but continue.
But I think the one that I was most surprised about how much I liked from a movie perspective was Ouija Origin of Evil, which I was just kind of amazed at how good that was. Especially I did a thing preparing for that episode, which is I watched the first movie before I watched Flanagan's movie. And the first movie is objectively terrible. Like it's really bad. And so going from that movie, which is just like bad and worse, boring, and seeing Flanagan pick up that property and say, I think I can do something interesting and cool and make a surprisingly good movie that is also a prequel, was just like really, really impressive to me. I mean, I'm always going to answer Midnight Mass with Matt. I mean, we're right in the middle of rewatching it right now. And I just continue to be blown away. There was a long time in my head that when thinking about what are my favorite Flanagan things, I would put Hill House and Midnight Mass pretty neck and neck, and which one I think is better could change on any given day. I still love The Haunting of Hill House. I think it's incredible. But I agree with Matt, even we're only like 3 episodes into Midnight Mass so far, and I think it's just like far and away the best thing Flanagan has ever done, and just one of the greatest things of all time. I think I finished episode 3, my first watch for the episode that Matt and I are going to be recording here in just an hour or so. And I was kind of panicked because I was just like, oh my God, there's so much in here. There's so much in here. How are we going to find a way to talk about all of this? Cause just like getting your head around all the things it's doing at the same time and how it's doing them and what it's saying. It felt overwhelming to me. And I think that's just, it's an incredible work of art. It really is.
Yeah. I'm going to say that, listen, I've only watched Midnight Mass once, and unlike you guys, I am not a rewatcher. It's rare that I rewatch stuff. But you guys have actually helped me with that. So like I rewatched Haunting of Hill House. I think that was outstanding. I'd never watched Bly Manor. Bly Manor surprised me with how much I really liked that. My wife had watched that before me and said that was pretty good. I thought that was not quite as good as Hill House, but it was on par. I think the adaptation of Gerald's Game is one of the very best Stephen King adaptations I've ever watched, because he took a book that was about one woman being trapped in a room. It was akin to almost like the movie Castaway. Like you're focusing on one person in one environment. And Castaway, at least you can move around the island. This is just her in a bedroom, handcuffed to a bed.
Yeah,
I just was really astounded at how good he made that. And who is Carla Gugino's husband? Who's the actor in Gerald's Game?
Oh my God, love him.
Shit. Yeah, crap. He's also in a bunch of. He's been in Fall of the House of Usher and
Bruce Greenwood. There we go.
Bruce Greenwood.
Yeah,
that guy is freaking ripped. He's a 60-year-old ripped man, and I was like,
yeah,
I was like, dude, you shouldn't be that ripped. That is not legal. Like, so yeah. But I've only watched. I follow your podcast, so so I watch the episodes and then I follow the podcast. So I'm only one episode in on Midnight Mass, but I'm really. The thing is, I watch it and then for me at least, I watch it and then I remember highlights and I remember a million other things. So yeah, it's I'm looking forward to seeing where that go and seeing you mentioned it in the first podcast where the guy that's the priest in Midnight Mass, Hamish
Linklater. Yeah.
How is he not in more Flanagan stuff? I saw some interview with him. He's like, yeah, hey, Mike, call me. I'd love to be in more things. So yeah, but
yeah.
Sorry. So yeah, I so far, like I said, for me, I'm agreeing with you guys. I just wanted to mention that I thought Gerald's Game was just a superb adaptation of a King book that had no right to be good. Like, that makes sense.
I totally agree. And somehow underrated, right? I think the idea of it just like as a movie, it's very good. But yeah, I think people undervalue like the Herculean effort it took to take that book and figure out a way to make it work at all on the screen. Like I think the phrase like unadaptable is overused because I think everything's adaptable in some way. You just have to like get very, very liberal with how you adapt and what you adapt. But like especially studying the text as we got to do, like the amount of what he left in there and what he was able to do with that material. Yeah, I like just what an accomplishment.
Right. Because the reason why you would call that one unadaptable is because it's so internal and psychological,
Yeah.
and outwardly, very little is happening physically, but he manages to convey the internal stuff using, intelligent adaptational choices. It's great.
Yeah. But that's sort of Flanagan's sort of calling card. I can adapt the unadaptable, or like that whole thing he did with Dr. Sleep. Like merging two things was just, I'm still not quite sure how he did that and whatever, but
it's just one of those things that if you like told someone about it on paper, you would say that sounds terrible. Why would you do that? I'm gonna take the Stephen King sequel to The Shining and one of the most well-known horror movies of all time, Stanley Kubrick's adaptation, and I'm gonna find a way to just mash those together, and it's gonna work. And I would read that and say, no, it's not. You're wrong.
Yeah.
There's no way that would work.
Ridiculous.
And,
yeah. I know you guys, before we move on, I know you guys did a whole thing about The Shining. I really disliked that movie. I loved the book. And the thing that I loved about the book was all the magical elements. And Kubrick's like, fuck all that. We're not doing any of that. And except for a little bit about The Shining. But you know what I mean? But like, I didn't care for that. Also, part of it is I know all the backstory of like the hell he put Shelley Duvall through and all that stuff. Yeah. So that kind of taints it for me. But be that as it may.
Totally understandable. Sure. I mean, and there's plenty of things in my life that like I look at someone saying I don't like that and I just don't understand them. Like I think people that say they don't like Midnight Mass, I just like scratch my head at them and I'm like, why? But like stuff like The Shining, I can watch that movie and just completely understand why someone walks away from it saying like, no, I don't think this was good. It wasn't a good movie. It wasn't a good adaptation of the story. Like I completely get that. I love it, but
I don't think it wasn't a bad movie. I just thought the adaptation I didn't care for. And, like I said, knowing the backstory, that unfortunately that taints it for me in my head. So, but a lot of people like that's in that whole separate the art from the artist thing and all that jazz. Cause Kubrick was a noted asshole, but
yeah.
So, but another thing I wanted to ask you guys, because I think this is going to be pretty fun, because I think you guys have talked about it, but I really want to dive in here. So, Flanagan's pretty famous for I'm going to have a lot of the same actors in a lot of my stuff. So, who out of all the actors that he reuses, and he reuses tons of them, who's your favorite recurring actor? Just the actor, not whatever roles they play. What actor do you really, really enjoy out of the recurring cast that he tends to bring back?
I feel like we're going to have the same answer to this, but I'll let Matt go first and steal my answer.
Well, I think currently I'm on a Rahul Kohli kick. And like, I think he's fantastic, and I think one of the reasons why he's a standout to me is like the massive difference in the performance between the last two things we covered on a level where your brain almost refuses to believe it's the same dude. Like that's these are all great actors though. They're I could have just as easily picked any of them randomly and then given you a really good reason why they were my favorite. They're all incredibly strong. It's just I think honestly we were just talking about Rahul Kohli and how impressive this almost like transformation is between these two characters that jumped out to me and is kind of on the top of my mind.
Yeah, you didn't take mine. I'm happy.
Oh, go for it then.
Without a doubt, Henry Thomas. I love him so much, and I think especially like kind of the whiplash of going from him playing Jack Torrance in Dr. Sleep to him playing a drunk British gentleman to now him playing an old surly fisherman with a bad back in the course of like a few months in our watching time has like really just won him over to me in a very specific way. I think he's incredible. I mean, like Matt said, like I could very easily have picked anyone else. But like I look through Henry Thomas's journey with Mike Flanagan, starting with Ouija Origin of Evil, and then he's just kind of stuck around and done such different things every time, but nailed them every single time. I think the interesting thing about Midnight Mass is his performance in that is probably like the most removed from the central happenings of the show. It's a much more of a supporting role than some of his other stuff were. I mean, I guess you could argue Dr. Sleep, that was pretty supporting too, but he just comes in. Flanagan asks the impossible of him sometimes. I mean, like Gerald's Game, right? Like that's an impossible job. That is an impossible job.
Oh my God. I forgot about that. Just that role he plays in that is just the creepiest shit ever.
Yeah. And yet he does it. And then Flanagan's like, okay, cool. Good job. Great job doing that. Now be Jack Torrance, you know, one of the most iconic characters of all time.
Yeah.
Just do that for us. Right. And then like, so it's just like again and again and again, he's asked to do all this stuff. And I think he just pulls it off every time.
Yeah. We want you to do a Jack Nicholson impression, but like not in a way where it's like obvious.
Yeah.
What the hell does that mean? Okay, fine.
Thanks for that. But Henry Thomas was going to be my answer too. It also it's part of like that the duality character he plays in Bly Manor, where he's that smiling creepy dude is just like, Jesus, man, where did you pull that? Like, because he just doesn't look like the kind of guy that would have that look.
How does he make his face do that? I don't know how he does it.
Yeah. I don't either. I mean, the other obvious answer is Kate Siegel, but she's a marvelous actress in everything she does. I mean, one of my kids is a giant horror nerd, and one of his favorite movies is Hush, and she's like prominently involved in that and like plays a deaf character and like that, like she's not deaf, so like playing that is really fascinating that she was able to do that.
Yeah. She was also way up on my list, and I was debating whether to say Kate Siegel. I think like I just said Raul Coley, like what was impressive about his transformation, but the thing about Kate Siegel is her transformation between each of the movies is it's like just as powerful but more subtle in a way, where it's like from character to character, it's like she's making all of these little decisions that are like emanating from the inside out, that are influencing the way she moves and the way she holds her face and the way she like attends to things with her eyes, and there's just like you know, intonations of her voice. It's you know, it's not like she's completely changing her accent to be a completely different, you know, nationality, but she is kind of changing. Like it's actually quite impressive from movie to movie and show to show.
Sorry, I started laughing when you started mentioning accents because of the whole North England, South England, whatever accent Carlo Gugino was doing in Bly Manor. I was trying to figure it out, and you guys got raked over the coals for it, I believe.
I figured we were going to get raked over the coals for it, and then people were very nice to us when I said she was Irish. I expected the entire country of Ireland to destroy me.
What?
Yeah, fortunately they did not. No, I think it's because there's this cool thing we get to do now where we record a week in advance. So like we said, tonight we're recording episode 3 of Midnight Mass. Episode 2 hasn't even come out yet, but I get to recognize my error technically before the episode is even out. And so it allows me to like cover myself on the next episode, even though people won't hear it yet. Like for instance, I found where the Oculus mirror was in Midnight Mass, and I forgot to mention in episode 2, but nobody's heard that one yet. So I'm going to mention it in episode 3, and they're going to be like, "Oh, wow, you didn't miss it," even though I did miss it.
All right, so now I haven't watched episode 2, so now I'm going to be looking for that. Just like hey, like Matt in Bly Manor and Hill House, I was clueless about all the ghosts. I just was not paying attention to the background. I don't like it. I just told Scott's like, "Hey Matt, did you see any ghosts?" I was like, maybe.
My favorite was when I emphatically and excitedly told Scott that I saw the ghost in Hill House, and he's like, "In what scene?" In the funeral parlor. There's no ghosts in the funeral parlor, and then it was just like the reflection of one of the characters in a window. I was so proud of myself.
Maybe you'll go back and watch that one day, and you'll find them all.
Yes, definitely. Yeah. I'm sure.
Yeah, sure. So, yeah, there's like you said, there's a million. Like, I love that he just brings, like, even he brings like the kid actors back. Also, his ability to find kid actors that do great jobs is, where does he find these kids?
Yeah, I think it's, it's a combination of great casting, directing. Like I think we mentioned on our last episode of last year that he's had basically the same casting directors throughout almost all of his career. So he like found two women that were very, very good at this and has stuck with them. And then also like, just the ability to find good kids. And then I think a lot of it is just you give an actor good material, and a great actor can make it incredible. A good actor can make it great, right? So I think it's a combination of he's giving them really good material, and I think it seems like the type of sets he runs and the type of direction he gives people really helps them achieve their fullest. Like, I mean, you were talking about Kubrick a few minutes ago, and like notoriously terrible on set, mean and cruel, and like you look at all of these returning actors on all of this Flanagan stuff just leads you to believe that everyone loves working for this guy, that everyone loves the mood on set. Everyone loves being a collaborative creator with him. And so, yeah, it's like, it's all part of the same things, and it elevates everything, I think.
Yeah. Matt, any comments on that bit?
No, I think Scott took the words out of my mouth.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, because before we move on, I just want to say the my favorite kid actor that I saw was in Bly Manor was the what was the young kid's name? The boy. Well, actually, the boy and the brother and sister were in there. They were superb. Like how they played all that in Bly Manor were just superb. So
yeah. The boy is I think his name is Benjamin Ainsworth. He's going to be Link.
Link, that's right. What a leap! So good for that kid.
Yeah.
All right. So next thing I wanted to ask is, so now we talked about favorite recurring actor. What's your favorite character out of anything you've seen so far in the Flanagan universe? So far.
Oh, that's tough.
Yeah,
it is tough because there's a lot.
Yeah, this is. I'm rapidly, going back through everything that we've talked about.
I'm desperately trying not to do too much recency bias. Is what I think I'm doing.
I'll vamp for a second to buy Scott time.
Oh gosh.
This is a strategy that we use sometimes, by the way. If one of us obviously has nothing to say, then the other one, then one of us can bite the bullet by vamping pointlessly.
Is this you vamping right now? I thought I was waiting for the vamping to start.
The vamping was going to be like, I think it's actually a really interesting question because like almost everything he does is ensemble. Well, that's an exaggeration. He really likes to do ensemble stuff. He really likes to do these shows where there's 10 characters that all have all this stuff going on. I think the films are an exception to that. Obviously, the initial films. I mean, it's the earlier you go in the career, I think the fewer characters there are. But he seems, over time to have just really, really explored tons of characters in each show, and maybe as a consequence of that, it's hard to think of one that's great because it's like, well, they're all intertwining and playing off of each other. Scott?
I really liked Nell Crane a whole lot. I really like that character a lot. And like I think when I was desperately thinking, well, Matt was so expertly vamping, my brain kept going back to Hill House, which is interesting. And maybe that is me specifically trying to avoid Midnight Mass, because I feel like we've talked about that enough on this show already. But I just kept going back to the characters on Hill House, and I just love the character of Nell so much. And so I think that's going to be my answer. I think she's incredible. I think we haven't said Victoria Pedretti's name yet, who is another recurring Flanagan team member, and I think she's remarkable. I still can't get over the fact that Hill House was essentially her first big thing, because she seems so poised and like so professional, and she just seems like she's just been doing this forever, and she's really, really good.
So I was laughing when you said that, Scott, because I decided right as I finished speaking that my answer was going to be Danny Clayton from Bly Manor.
Okay.
Because like she's just like this like really heroic, solid character, but also, you know, she's in this terrifying situation. You buy her fear, but because you buy her fear, you buy her bravery and her, you know, her dedication to these kids. And the ending of that character is just so incredibly poignant. I think it's just a character type that works on me really well. I'm a sucker for that like doomed romance thing also.
I love it.
There's another doomed romance in that show, but
yeah.
Oh. A sad show.
Yeah.
So if you want to see their podcast, right there at the link, Doof Media, Flanagan's Wake, basically get it on any podcast format that you like.
Yeah.
We're all. What I would say is, if you want to, like, not a lot of people do video podcasts and stuff like that, but I think with this one, I think the video stuff really does help, because we do kind of work in the clips and stuff like that. If we're talking about, when I get nerdy about camera angles and scene stuff, we try to include the actual clips from the show to help demonstrate what the hell I'm talking about.
Yeah, that's understandable. I mean, there's a few other characters that I want, just before I jump into what mine is. I think there's also two other, like Oliver Jackson Cohen, who was in Hill House and Bly Manor. Those are two enormously different characters.
Yeah.
And his character performance in Hill House, where they specifically did the episode focuses on his addiction, that whole episode made me cry. I was a mess. I mean, Theodora's episode, the previous episode with Kate Siegel, like her doing that thing where she's on the couch in the guy's basement. Oy vey, like that just destroyed me. So I love that. I do think of all the things you've talked about so far, I think Rose the Hat, Rebecca Ferguson as Rose the Hat, is that's one of the best villains I've ever seen in a horror movie. Just the way she plays that. I mean, I love everything she's in. She's just a great actress. I think she just nails almost everything she does. But the other thing, there was one in Bly Manor that I've seen her in a few things, and I don't think I've ever seen her in another Flanagan thing, and it was Tania Miller, played Hannah Gross.
Mm-hmm.
And her interplay with Rokulia in Bly Manor was just really, really, really excellent, how they just really played well off each other. So there was a few ones that I wanted to mention that we hadn't really, but there's so many freaking recurring actors and characters that it's kind of hard. But Rose the Hat, I think if I'm just going to pick one character, that's probably the one that is the most memorable to me. But it's like saying that's my favorite kid. You don't say that because there's too many of them to pick. So, not too many of them. Hopefully not too many of them. Let's be clear about that, but too many kids.
Yeah, we will get to see Tania Miller again in House of Usher. She is
that's true. She is in that
large role on that. But yeah.
All right. So now you said you're about halfway through. What is the show or movie you each are looking forward to most to be talking about, and what do you have remaining?
You want to go first, Matt?
Well, it's harder for me to answer because I haven't seen them and thus don't really know what to expect. I will say I am like annoyed that I'm not allowed by Scott to watch Life of Chuck. because it's a Stephen King thing. So I should be allowed to watch it as a Stephen King adaptation if you
Nope.
think about it. But I think that's the one where I'm just like, yeah, that's on my list of stuff that I would have gone out to see in the theater. But yeah, I don't know. Go ahead, Scott. You know better than me.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very excited to talk about The Life of Chuck as well. I don't have to follow the rules that I give for Matt, so I went and saw it in the theater.
Screw you, Matt.
Yeah.
I really loved that movie, and I'm really kind of excited to hear Matt's take on it. I think the thing I'm most excited about, though, is, and maybe I'm just biased because it's the one thing I haven't really seen, but I'm just really excited to see Flanagan's Carrie adaptation that's supposed to come out this year. I don't think they've dated it yet. We're kind of just hovering, waiting for that thing to get a date. I'm assuming it's going to be in the fall. It seems to line up about right, and I think they usually wait until further into the year to start announcing their later half of the year lineup on these streaming services. So I'm going to guess an October-ish timeframe for Carrie, but like I'm just so intrigued by what Flanagan is going to do with this, because there's a lot of pushback when this project was initially announced, both because Carrie is one of the most adapted things in Stephen King's oeuvre, but also just because I think people want him to make The Dark Tower and are wondering why he's not making The Dark Tower.
I want him to make The Dark Tower.
I do too. I also understand the realities of the business, that like sometimes what you are and are not allowed to work on is out of your hands, and what is and isn't advancing and moving forward is out of your hands. So I don't think that the version of Carrie that we're going to get is something that any of us really truly know yet. And I'm really excited to see what he does with it, his take on that story, and what kind of ways in which he channels, in a very like Hill House, Bly Manor type of way, which are adaptations but are not really adaptations. Maybe he channels that kind of energy into a story that we have seen adapted many times, but could do something new and interesting and different with it. So I'm pretty excited about that.
Yeah, I haven't seen Life of Chuck. I wanted to, and I just didn't get it. Sometimes it's like I want to see that, and then I just, like I said, there's like a gazillion media options anymore, so it's a little hard to kind of pin down some things. There's certain things I will go out of my way to go see, and that was not something that it wasn't like, oh, I have to see that. I do want to see it. I do think the thing that I'm really interested for you guys to cover is the Fall of the House of Usher. There's a little bit of bias there because my wife and I are big Poe fans, and the fact that he used different Poe stories to kind of tell the adaptation is really intriguing. Lots of great actors and actresses in it. Mark Hamill's in that one. Like, Kate Siegel's character in that is super fascinating. Like, just not like anything she's done before. And the choices in it, which as a husband directing your wife to do that sort of thing would be really, really intriguing. So I'm looking forward to that. You were going to say something, Scott? I interrupted. Sorry.
No. I think that's a great pick. I think that's without spoiling anything for Matt, I think that's a very particularly angry story. Like, I think you can tell Mike was very angry at the world when he wrote that story, and it shows in ways that I think, when we were all watching it, we felt and understood and shared that anger. So I think it's gonna be really fun, and I think both Matt and I really love Poe too. I'm very much looking forward to getting to spend some time with those Poe short stories and poems, because we are going to be reading those before we get into the series itself. I'm also like really excited about the Midnight Club, which is coming next for us after Midnight Mass, specifically because it is just so commonly understood as the least good, I won't say the worst, but the least good thing Mike has ever been a part of. And I really want to inspect that, and I really want to dive into that, because it's not something I've spent a lot of time with. Honestly, as of right now, I haven't made my way through the entire series. I am going to watch it all on my own, just like in succession, in preparation for when we cover it week to week, just so I can have some semblance of where it's going. But I think it's going to be really illuminating. Like, I think it's always fun to closely examine something that most people consider not very good. because it's like, are they right? Are they wrong? Did we see this from a different angle? Can we find something new out of this? Can we find something to appreciate in this? I think that's really cool too.
Yeah, I've never watched that show either, so I'll be watching that along with your podcast. So, like I said, you guys are not only having me rewatch stuff, you're also having me watch things I wouldn't have probably gotten to because, like you said, Scott, there's a million new things to watch, and it's the dangly, sparkly. I'm going to go look at that kind of thing. So yeah. I'm intrigued by that because I know a few people have watched it and really loved it, and I know other people really, like you said, some people have said, "Wow, it's kind of not great," but so yeah.
Yeah, and we are going to be reading the Christopher Pike book. I think we're only going to do one episode on it. It's short. It's like a teen.
Oh, I didn't even know it was based on a book. Oh,
yeah, it is. I have it right here. It is Christopher Pike. It is like the precursor to R.L. Stine. This guy was writing horror stories, so it's very short. We're going to do one episode on it. I debated back and forth on whether we should dive into this book, and I guess the reason why I decided to do it, and I'm just kind of spoiling what we're going to talk about when we get to this on the podcast, but I think it's very interesting when you look at the list of authors that Mike Flanagan has adapted. It is Stephen King. It is Henry James. It is Shirley Jackson. It is Edgar Allan Poe. And then it is Christopher Pike. And that is like, that is one that sticks out. And so that's an interesting choice, right? Like I'm very curious why Flanagan and his team picked this for their next project. Like, what was it about this story, this author that really made them want to spend a lot of time with it? So I think reading the book will help us get there.
I have a question, but for both, well, not a question, but I'd like you to reiterate something you guys mentioned on your podcast. Is there was a question you guys forwarded, like, "Hey, everybody, who would you like to see Mike Flanagan adapt? What author?" Mm-hmm. Matt, you and Scott had different interpretation. Matt, what was yours again? Sorry.
Do you remember? No.
See, we do this thing where the second we stop talking, we forget everything we said.
Yeah.
Like Edge of Tomorrow, where you lose your memory. Awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. What the question was? What would we want to see him adapt? God, I mean, I even remember being asked this, and I just don't remember what I said. But
I think we kind of hedged and I think that was Jody that asked us that, and we kind of just hedged and said, yeah, what she picked, which was Charles Dickens. Yeah.
I feel like you're missing an obvious one. Obvious to me.
Okay.
H.P. Lovecraft.
Yeah.
How weird would it, because that's all monster driven, and I would love to see how he takes monsters and makes that personal.
Yeah,
because that's his whole thing, is to make things personal. I'm saying obvious to me because I want to see how he takes something that's not quote unquote unadaptable to make it, because his stories are always very personal, like, you know what I mean, how he tells stories. So that would be fascinating to me, to take that and take sort of Lovecraftian stories, Mountains of Madness and things like that, and just do really, I mean, he's done Poe, which is like, those are poems mostly and stories, and just, I don't know. I feel like that would be really fun to see how he interprets that. But
yeah,
sorry to put you on the spot there. Just a whole right out of your brain after you do it. I totally get that though.
Yeah, well, I like your answer though. I've only read a couple of Lovecraft stories, but they're, very dread laden in a way that I feel he would do a fantastic job, channeling and elevating. So
yeah, cool. Lovecraft is one of those big holes for me. I've not read a word that he's written.
Not a very good human being.
Yeah.
So that I know. That's part of the problem.
Yeah. I think I'm now vaguely remembering, Matt. I think the answer I gave for that question ended up being House of Leaves, I think.
Oh yeah.
Because it just, like, once I thought of it, it like slotted into this is an unadaptable thing. It is entirely unadaptable. It is a haunted house story. And just seeing what Flanagan could do with that kind of stuff, I think would be very fun.
I think I might have said The Fisherman.
Yes, you did. Yes,
because and I'm remembering that because you made me think book club, and I think those. Yeah, I mean, those are two effective, dread-filled, kind of disturbing psychological horror things that we've read recently in the last 10 years.
Recently in the last 10 years.
Yeah. In this quarter of my life.
Matt has no concept of time. It's
No.
really funny.
No
Time is
memory, no concept of time. And yeah, it's great. It's great.
Time is a flat circle. So
Yeah, I read that book just the other day.
Wait, isn't that from True Detective?
that's what I thought it was from. Maybe I'm wrong.
What book are you referring to?
1,000 Years of Solitude.
Is that's not okay? That was a long time ago. But I don't remember that being in that book.
Yeah.
I thought it was.
Yeah. I have another question from somebody who's watching, but I want to say House of Leaves. I tried to read that book 5 or 6 times, and I am a very linear thinker. And reading that book, that I got 50 pages in, I can't do this. This is hurting my brain, and so, which sucks because I love horror books and I read a ton of them. And that one, just like the structure of it and all the notes and all, I just really struggled to get 50 pages. So like I get how I understand like the book and how that would be difficult to adapt, which is sort of Flanagan's specialty. But man, I struggled. I have that book. I have the cool edition of it. I bought it thinking, cool, I'll read it. I've tried 5 or 6 times. I can't get through 50 pages of that book.
I started and stopped multiple times, and I think it was honestly we did it for our book club.
And then you're like, you got to get
like
through
2
it.
or 3 days ago. That's a joke because it was years ago, Matt.
Yeah.
And it was like the requirement of having to have this done in a certain time for the book club that like finally got me over the initial hump, and then I just kind of fell in love with it.
Yeah. I mean, this tends to be the case with a lot of literature we read. It's like painful to get through often, and then you either click into the frequency that it's broadcasting on at some point, and then it just starts working for you, or at worst, you get through the whole thing and it never quite started working, but then once it's all in your head, you like absorb it. And you at least see what people are crazy about, even though maybe it's not your cup of tea. I would say that was a particularly rough one to get through for me, but it's very challenging in particular because you're used to absorbing books in a certain way, and this is just like punching you in the face every time you think that you have figured out what how you should relate to it and how you should read it. I mean, one thing, just since we're talking about this, this isn't like a spoiler, I don't think, especially if you said you're already like 50 pages into it, but Scott said like, yeah, there's a point early in the book when it references the appendices. So I went and I read them, and then I came back. And I was like, I didn't even notice that. So I read the appendices at the end after I had read everything. And so it's really, we kind of read 2 different books because Scott had this context of, I won't tell you what the appendices are, but tremendous context on one of the major characters that I didn't get until after I finished reading the story proper. And that's just weird. And it's like, yeah, well, the book is designed where there's no correct way to read it, which is really, really unusual for, a novel, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it's almost like a choose your own adventure kind of deal in the way that it's formatted, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I don't think I'd ever list it as like one of my favorite novels, just because like I appreciate just like good linear storytelling more than anything. But
Same.
like it's a fun experiment. It's a fun way to kind of push the bounds of what a novel is and what a novel can do. And at the end of it, I appreciated it. It's also one of those ones that like, talking about it and spending a couple hours just like really trying to dive into it with another person and understand it and get to the bottom of it just what is one of my favorite things. And it was with that book in particular, just really helped me appreciate it more.
Yeah, there's a book that I'm currently reading, a sci-fi book called There Is No Anti-Memetics Division.
Mm-hmm.
And that is, it's not House of Leaves, but it's a little jumbled in how the story works because there's a lot of not time hopping, but like people losing memory and then they regain it, and like it's a lot of interesting ways of doing that. So
I'm sorry, what did you say it was called again?
There Is No Anti-Memetics Division.
Sorry, I was making a dumb joke.
Oh, God damn it! I totally missed that. Oh,
I've actually heard about that, and I've read some of the
that's
pieces.
the mattiest book ever.
Oh yeah.
I've not read the actual like printed version, but I read some of those stories when they were on his website, so I know what you're talking about, and they would be very Matty, yes. Just to clear the record, by the way, the 100 Years of Solitude quote is something like time wasn't passing, it was flowing in a circle. So I was you are in fact correct that the quote "time is a flat circle" is from True Detective.
Yeah. So you were just wrong.
I was
Let's
just wrong.
make sure. Yeah.
And also, it's 100 Years of Solitude, not 1,000 Years of Solitude. So
No,
I'm
I
just
mean,
completely illiterate.
sometimes it feels like
I would
1,000 years.
I would have trusted you on 1,000.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah.
It's all good. So,
Yeah.
all right. So we have a quick question here. This is if you could give Flanagan one Stephen King property that hasn't been adapted yet or was adapted poorly, which one would fit? You can't say The Dark Tower because we're all in on that.
Carrie.
That's awesome.
So, the first thing that jumped to my mind, I don't know if it's the best fit, but it is the first thing that jumped to my mind is from a Buick 8. I don't know why. I think partly it's like, well, I don't think there has been an adaptation of it. I feel like it is just the kind of sort of like nonlinear, character-driven psychological exploration thing that some would say is unadaptable, and it's like, well, isn't that the perfect target for Flanagan then? That'd be a fun one.
I think that's a great answer. I love that. I'm gonna say this is a little bit cheating because once upon a time he was going to make this, but I would say it's, especially with Midnight Mass on my mind, Stephen King's Revival. That book has not had an adaptation yet. Flanagan wrote a script for it, was going to make it, and then they lost their funding and it died. So my secret confession is that I don't like that book very much, and a lot of people, the people that like that book, like love that book, and I think it's an okay book with like actually a really killer, shocking ending. But the reason I want to see it so bad is because I think Mike Flanagan could do it in such a way that really makes me appreciate that novel more than I do. So I know it's never going to happen, but I wish he got to make it.
I'm going to say Insomnia.
Yeah.
Because I'm not sure how you adapt that. I really don't. Fun fact about that particular book. I was reading that and then I had a heart attack and I was in the hospital and then I barely survived that. And then I was trying to read that book and I had to put that down because that book is a lot about old age and death. And I was like, I need to put that away for a little bit. And so, yeah, and I eventually came back to it. I absolutely love that book. No clue how they would really fully adapt that, but I just really think that's really good. I would love to see a short story movie of Gray Matter from Night Shift. Because that's just a wacky fucking story, but it would be great if some YouTuber made that into a short somehow. I think that would be fun.
Oh gosh.
I am a little sad that the Dollar Baby program that Stephen King ran for so many years is gone now, that we can't see that kind of stuff. Because one of the friends of our show made what was I Know What You Need, like a small little tiny adaptation of that short story, and I thought that was excellent. But that program is over. I mean, like I think you're so right about Insomnia, and that's like one of like the things I want to ask Stephen King questions that I have in the back of my head, that there are hundreds, but one of them is always like, you wrote Insomnia when you were just past middle age. You are now older than the character in your book. Mm-hmm. What do you think about that story and the way you depicted old age and the way you depicted dealing with your incoming mortality and death? Like, what do you think about that now? Because like you were coming at a perspective of someone that was not there yet. Now you're much closer to that than you were 30 years ago. So what do you think about that?
Yeah, somebody mentioned The Jaunt.
Oh yeah, that's good.
I haven't read that yet. That's on my list. But,
Yeah, I haven't either.
yeah.
That you are allowed to read, Matt. I give you permission.
Yes.
Oh wow, fancy. Somebody also said that the first episode of the Creep Show is a Gray Matter adaptation, which I didn't realize. All right, so now I haven't watched that, so I'll have to give that a go. So I want to step a bit out of the Stephen King universe and Flanagan universe for a minute, and I want to ask you guys a question once Scott is done coughing. Poor Scott, man. Bad, man.
Won't go away.
Yeah, so have you guys listened to any serialized fiction podcasts? You guys are a horror podcast. Have you ever listened to serialized fiction podcasts? If you have, do you like them? And if you do, if or not, and if you do you have ones that you think are worthwhile listening to?
Sure. Not a ton, actually. I mean, really only a couple.
And I think yours and I's the same ones, actually.
Yeah. Right. I mean, I think the number one, which I think if you've listened to us for long enough, you've heard me mention before, is going to be the Magnus Archives.
Love that one.
Yeah, that's just great. It was really inspiring to me, actually, just as a project, the way it's structured, the way it's the way it kind of writes its own rules. It kind of teaches you how to listen to it, and it was honestly mind expanding in the way that it's just like you can do anything. Like there are no rules to art. You can do a thing where what this is going to be is it's a guy talking into a tape recorder. Would he actually do that? Of course not. But we're going to make up a plausible reason why he might, and you're going to accept it because you're enjoying it. Shut up. Like it's and it's just really good. It's really entertaining. It's super absorbing. It's clever. It's satisfying. It's all the things you want out of fiction. It's maybe, I mean, again, like I just said, I haven't listened to that many, but I feel like it's brilliant in its exploitation of the medium. You know, it's like he sat down and he was like, all right, what can you do with the podcast format that you can't do with other formats? And then he just swerved as hard into that as he possibly could. I don't know, Scott, you I know there's other ones we've listened to, but yeah, what would you say?
Yeah, I mean, Magnus Archives is definitely like the top of the list for me. I also listened to one, I don't even know if this counts as horror, but I listened to one called Homecoming.
No, that's a good one, but I'm not
They
sure.
made it into a TV show, I think.
I think that was more like post-apocalyptic horror. Maybe it falls into that sort of vein.
Sure.
Maybe.
I think so. I love podcasts. Obviously, that's why I make them. But like I what I love about this medium so much is like infinite like customizability. Like what is a podcast? It can be literally anything. And that's why don't get me on my soapbox about the stupid Golden Globes Best Podcast Award and how terrible it was. But like so the idea of podcast being a method for listening to people have conversations or deep in-depth study of something, whether it be history or fiction or what have you. But then also, yeah, this is just could be another medium for telling story, is something that I just love to death. And it's weird that given that I haven't listened to as many as I thought I would. But the ones I listened to, I have almost universally enjoyed. What is the one? Oh my God, why can't I? Is it Night Vale?
Yeah, welcome
Night Vale.
Welcome to Night Vale. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Gosh, that was so long ago. Even I think that was a long time ago. Yeah, I listened to quite a lot of that as well. Yeah.
I will tell you how old that is because I have a signed copy of that from when I used to work for HarperCollins. I have a signed copy of their book, and that was nearly 10 years ago.
Awesome.
Are they still making it?
I have no idea. I really don't. Yeah.
I think this conversation has like inspired me to find whatever the best current audio fiction.
I have a few for you. For you.
Please do.
Magnus Archives, you're right. Fucking superb. That's one of the best ones out there. One of them, if you want short stories, is No Sleep Podcast. That one is just, here's all these short stories from different people, and we're going to make them into an audio thing, and they're usually fairly short. One of my favorite ones, it's a serialized one, is there's two of them that are made by the same company. One of them is Tanis. That is horror and weirdness. It involves Rasputin and like time travel. Just super interesting and great. One called The Black Tapes, which is about paranormal shit. There's one called The Old Gods of Appalachia, which is like, I grew up adjacent to Appalachia. I wasn't in it. I was in rural Pennsylvania. I was maybe a couple hours from Appalachia, but just basically like all these various things that happen, like monsters that happen in Appalachia, and like that has its own appeal because that's a weird area. If you know anything about Appalachia, especially like West Virginia and rural PA and upper West Virginia. We're Alive. I don't know if you remember that one. That was a zombie one that ran for like 5 seasons.
Oh, wow.
That's like an apocalyptic zombie horror that is really great. The last one I'll mention is Archive 81, which was also made into a TV show. The TV show sucked. The podcast was superb. But that was like, there's all these tapes of something that happened in this weird spot that was like a secret government facility. There's so many things that from the serialized fiction podcast that you can find any brand of that you enjoy and they'll make it. Like there's ones that are futuristic, there's ones that are not. Like I tend to veer towards the horror element. So yeah.
I think I just remembered another one as you were talking, and I think it Alice Isn't Dead. I think it was a Night Vale Presents one.
Yeah, that's by the same people who made the Night Vale thing.
Yeah, I really liked that one. I really liked that one a lot.
Yeah, so that's a good one. But somebody said Night Vale is still going.
Wow.
Great.
Wow. Sometimes things should end.
And Scott says, and sometimes things should end.
I haven't listened to it in literally like 7 years, so I'm not saying that's not any comment on its quality, but that just seems like a long time to keep going with the same thing.
Yeah, for sure. Right. I have one other thing to ask you guys, but before I do ask that, what is a show or media that has gone on too long for your taste? Just one.
Oh gosh,
there's a lot to choose from. Just pick. Yeah. Lost. That's a good one.
Wow, you son of a bitch! How dare you do this to me? You'll be ruining the day when you have to do a podcast about all 127 episodes.
Yeah.
Grey's Anatomy, because I've watched. Greg fucking pops in with Grey's Anatomy. Right?
Is that still on?
That's still on.
I was in college. I remember being in college, and I'm old.
Speaking of medical dramas, I would say House, even though that didn't go on for nearly as long as Grey's Anatomy. I felt like House was a show that jumped the shark and then just kept jumping sharks for several seasons, and it was like
just kept Fonzieing it the whole time.
Yeah, and maybe that was because I was really into it, and I was just like increasingly just like, what are we doing? We've strayed so far.
I think The Walking Dead is my actual pick for this, which is a show that I watched at the very beginning, and it was like, oh my gosh, is it a zombie television show? That doesn't happen. And I really enjoyed it at the beginning, and then I didn't enjoy it for a while, and then I really enjoyed it, and then it just kept going. And now they've got like 700. Can we say spoilers for The Walking Dead on here?
For sure. Spoilers, whatever. It's been 10 years.
I stopped when
just a few days ago if you're Matt.
Sure, yeah. I stopped when they fake killed Glenn, only to then turn around and immediately kill Glenn. And then I was like, okay, I'm done with this. I don't see any value in continuing with this thing anymore.
Our family was the same way. Our family says Glenn was for real dead. Nope, we're out. And all of it just stopped. We never watched any of the other derivatives either.
Yeah, and they've spun it off like crazy.
Yeah.
Spun
it off in multiple things, but yeah, I know you guys are Buffy fans, so good comment there. So
not him. He won't watch it.
No, well, maybe you have to force him by making a podcast about it.
I've long threatened this.
Yeah.
All right. One last question before we head out, because I know you guys have a show to do. What is your most underrated horror movie or show, or both? If you want,
Matt,
I can go for. If you want, I
if
can
you
go
have
because I
one,
have two.
if you have one, go first.
I have one for each.
Okay.
That way you guys can, you don't have to. What was the word?
Vamp.
You have to vamp. Sorry. For a show. There's a show called Marianne, which is on Netflix, which is a French horror show. So it's all in subtitles. It is an amazing, creepy ass show. Like it is, I think 8 or 9 episodes long. The premise is this lady writes these horror books and she decides, I don't want to write them anymore. And she goes back to her hometown to figure out what she's going to write next. And then there's someone in her town's like, oh, you will continue writing that or I will kill people.
Oh.
That is the whole premise of the show. And it is fucking awesome. It's so goddamn good.
Wow, she's so lucky.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm going to say, and for a movie, I still think 13 Ghosts just gets shit on and it shouldn't. That movie is fucking great. The ghosts in that are the best ghosts I've ever seen in any movie, bar none. So that's the one with Tony Shalhoub and what's the guy who played Shaggy? Matt.
Matthew Lillard, right? Yeah,
Matthew Lillard. Yes, he was in Scream. I said Shaggy, not fucking Scream. I said Shaggy. Oh my god, what's wrong with me? Anyway,
okay, I'm going back in my brain bank now. Is 13 Ghosts the one? I vaguely remember a young woman walking around with a video camera, and then like on the video camera she sees ghosts standing there, but then when she takes the camera down, they're not there. Was that in 13 Ghosts, or am I imagining something different?
No, that's different. You had these glasses in 13. You were in a house that was like basically all windows, and it had all these hieroglyphs and runes on the wall that were trapping certain violent ghosts.
Okay. Yeah.
Shannon Elizabeth was in it.
Yes. Okay. Yes.
And Tony Shalhoub was like in it. And Tony Shalhoub's fucking great and everything's in. So yeah.
Okay. Well, I remember seeing that, but I don't remember what movie I'm thinking of.
Oh, yeah, this was the thing. She took the glasses off and back on, and maybe that's what you're thinking.
I have a very specific memory of it being a video camera. I think it's another like house, like it's a very similar concept, but I cannot remember it.
Yeah. So all right. Now I vamped for you guys. I think that's a term, but I actually had answers. I didn't just bullshit. So, you guys.
Yeah. Well, I can. My answers are going to be like pretty lame because I was just not that into horror for most of my life. I spent that whole time like literally Googling like what are some weird horror things that I might have seen and forgotten about. You know, there's probably some like esoteric episodes of The Outer Limits in there, or like lesser loved X-Files episodes that I watched. You know, I was thinking about whether to talk about this, by the way, just like, you know, why doesn't Matt like horror is a question. Everyone asks how is Matt, but no one ever asks why is Matt.
Why is Matt?
Yeah.
Just a general question. Why is Matt?
Why don't I like horror? And I think the answer is like I kind of burned out my horror circuits at a pretty young age by watching The X-Files, which is the fucking terrifying TV show, actually, if you're like a 11-year-old or whatever. Mm-hmm. It's got some really scary ones in there. And they would really like affect me, and then I would be expected to like go to bed in the dark alone in my room and just deal with all of the creatures that were like on the floor right below the level where you can see them from your bed, you know. And I was just like, I don't enjoy this. I don't enjoy feeling scared every Sunday night after the X-Files episode airs. So when I never sought it out, right? And then I kind of persisted in that for a long time, and then when I was older and I kind of realized like, oh, I'm not like terrified of everything anymore. So then but by that time I had sort of let a lot of time pass, right? So anyway, I would have to just say some like, you know, weird X-Files episodes that maybe don't get enough love, but then of course the ones I would name would probably be the popular ones like Tombs and The Fluke Man, which are the scariest ones.
What about Home? Home was easily the most terrifying X-Files episode I've ever watched.
Yes, that's definitely extremely disturbing and terrifying. That might have even been one where I like couldn't, watch it at whatever age I was, or didn't finish watching it. And actually, it was a long time ago. Anyway, Scott, your turn.
I think for television show, I'm gonna go with the Channel Zero television show. I don't know if you ever watched that, Doug. It was each season was based off of, I think, a creepypasta story from in the early days of the internet. I don't remember if the first one was Candle Cove or not, but I thought that was really fun and I really enjoyed it. And I feel like people talked about it when it came out, but I feel like it's kind of disappeared. People don't really talk about it anymore, so I really like that. And the movie that I was thinking of, I found it thanks to very specific Google searching. It's called House on Haunted Hill. It's an updated adaptation of that book that was made into a movie. It ironically came out in 1999, the same year as The Haunting came out, the adaptation of Shirley Jackson's novel that was bad. And it's a bad movie, don't get me wrong. House on Haunted Hill. It's basically like, I think the premise is they have to stay in a haunted house overnight, and if they make it, they get like $1 million.
Like Zach Bagans.
Yeah. But the reason I like it, there was like, for some reason, for a long time, like that specific kind of horror that was like, you're looking at something, you can see it like through a camera in this case. You take it down, the thing's gone. And there's a part of that scene where she raises it and she's like looking at like a bunch of doctor ghosts that are, because I think it was like I don't remember what it was. I think it was like a hospital or something. And she's looking at a bunch of like doctor ghosts operating on someone. And then like she's looking through the camera and then puts it down and then puts it up. And then at one point, one of the ghosts just turns to look at her like slowly. And it just scared the ever living shit out of me. I was 14 when I saw the movie and it just scared. I loved it. It's a bad movie, but I enjoyed it.
That's great. So that just reminds me, do y'all happen to remember the one episode of Star Trek The Next Generation where there's like some weird thing is happening where people are going down to a planet and disappearing, and somebody has like a holographic recording, and the holographic recording is showing these like after images of people and it's like what you eventually realize. So first of all, there's all these like creepy, ghostly holographic images that people are like walking around. And then eventually like you realize that people are disappearing because they're like transforming into these creepy alien creatures. And like Geordi gets transformed into one of them. Scared the shit out of me. It's just an episode of TNG, but it was terrifying.
Your life was so traumatizing with all these non-horror things turning suddenly terrifying.
Apparently I was a fragile little Victorian boy.
Hey, maybe you could have Peter Quint come and join you in the fragile little Victorian boy mansion.
I hope so. I hope he does. I like that guy.
What a stellar guy. What a stellar guy.
Not a problem with him at all.
Yeah.
Did nothing wrong.
Yeah. All right. So thank you guys for joining us. I just want to point out that if you see at the bottom there, Flanagan's Wake Podcast, Doof Media, Flanagan's Wake, you can go there and it'll link you to all their podcasts, Flanagan's Wake. I also want to point out that there is, you guys are also doing this one for Kingslingers where you're talking about Welcome to Derry, right?
Yeah. We did. Matt did not do that. I had one of our good friends of the show, Kim C, come on and hang out with me for a couple months as we covered that episode by episode. We didn't love it. We didn't love that show. So if you're expecting us to talk favorably about it for 20 hours, then you'll be disappointed.
Yeah. I did not watch that show because I was pretty sure that wasn't going to be good. And,
you made a wise decision.
Considering all the things I could watch. Yeah. So also just want to mention that next month, February 10th, I am going to delve into romance books, which I know nothing about, with a friend of mine named Katie Bingham Smith. She writes romance novels, spicy romance novels for divorced women, which is interesting because that's obviously not my demographic. So I'm going to be really looking forward to seeing how that will play out. Obviously, we're leaning into the Valentine's Day theme there. I'm not a Valentine's Day person, but we're going to delve into it and see what Katie has to say about her books and romance genre. Romanticy is what I kind of want to dig at her and to see what that is, because I know the books. I don't read them. The only person in my family that reads them is my daughter. So she's 21. So like, read what you like. At least you're reading. Good. That's a good thing. So
yeah.
But yeah, guys, can you talk a bit about your podcast Flanagan's Wake before we close it out, so you can guys go record another show?
Yeah, sure. Matt, you wanna do the pitch?
Yeah. So we run a podcast covering the works of Mike Flanagan. We started chronologically with his earliest work, and we're making our way through. We cover not only his movies and TV shows, but we cover the books and short stories that they are based off of before we get into his work, so that we have more of a grounding on where he's coming from. And we get quite a lot out of those conversations too. We read all the stories of Henry James and Stephen King and Shirley Jackson, and we just have a lot of fun and try to make it fun to listen to. So yeah, go check out Flanagan's Wake.
Yeah, we are right in the middle of Midnight Mass right now. So yeah, still plenty of time to hop on, watch that show, and catch up with us.
Yeah, and just it's like I said, if you also want to go back, they have a multitude of podcasts and different things that talk about Kingslingers. If you like all the Stephen King, like the Dark Tower, and then you go all the Dark Tower universe and all the adjacent books, just go and check them out. They have a Patreon. If you want to get some extra content, please go do that. So yeah, guys, thanks a lot for joining us, and hopefully we didn't run your voices down too much for your podcast you have to do after this.
Oh no, we're good. I got 2 hours in the bank ready to go.
Yeah,
2 hours.
Warm up.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, folks. Thanks for joining in, and we'll see you next month when we talk to Katie Bingham Smith. Again, thanks to the Doof Media guys and the Flanagan's Wake podcast. So we'll catch you guys next month. Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers.